Welcome back, my DIY nomads. I hope all of you are doing really well today. I'm actually recovering from an illness, so I'm going to sound a little bit ropey and horsey, but nothing that's going to stop me getting this video out today. Today I'm going to review and talk about my WALLAS XC DUO, and then you can maybe make a decision from this video about whether you'd like to get invested in it, get one yourself, or whether you're just going to give it a miss. So without further ado, let's get cracking. You've seen it before in my installation video. I've actually taken that video down for the moment. I'm going to re-release it with a couple of changes to the video because I got a call from the UK department and they called and said that I actually installed the exhaust head wrong. So apparently, even though the instructions give this sort of perception the way it should be put on, I actually put it on. I needed to basically rotate it 180 degrees and then put the plastic cover back on because there was a hole in the side, and that's where most of the exhaust gases come out, and the plastic cover I'd put on was covering that up, so it could have been quite dangerous. But a huge thanks to them. They've been so great, and I'll leave a link below, but they've been really nice guys, totally understanding, and yeah, I was really impressed with how quickly they got back to me to help resolve this issue. First, I'm going to talk about the positives, things I like about it, you know, the advantages of having it. One of them being is that it is a very nice, sleek system. It looks good, it's very simple to use. It's in its cooker form when the lid's up, it's in its heater form when the lid's down. The sort of dial setting is very simple. You just hold it on for 2 seconds to turn it on, or if you're in a high altitude sort of situation, you'd hold it on for 10 seconds, and then that activates the high altitude mode, and then you just got your temperature knob here. It is a beautiful bit of kit, and I really like the fact that you don't have to worry about having a gas tank on board. You don't have to worry about having like an LPG or like a propane tank. And like in my heart of hearts, when I'm driving around, I actually feel a bit safer and a bit more easygoing when I don't have one of those tanks on board. I would say that ultimately I'd love to have the diesel hooked up to the fuel tank. I just didn't do it myself personally because I can't really get under the van, and it's a bit of an intense job. So I needed to just do the tank. Nothing wrong with having the tank in the back, but I think ultimately for the future I would definitely look at going for hooking up to the fuel tank of the van. Another thing I really like about it is that it is super efficient. It uses very little diesel and even less electricity. It uses a tiny amount of electricity, which means that running it overnight shouldn't be an issue at all. I can't quite remember the facts off the top of my head, so I will float them over the screen now. Now, disadvantages, I would say that there's 3 that come to mind after using it in the sort of time that I've had it. One being price, one being startup times and use times, and the other one being noise. Cost wise, it's 1,500 quid, so it is definitely a very premium bit of kit. 1,500 quid is like more than some vans, which is quite astonishing. I think personally I would say that it should only be charging around £1,000. This is like brings it more into line with ease batcher range, and also the fact that you get the cooking side of it as well. The startup times, now it does take quite a while to get going and quite a while to turn off, but this is something, it's like a bit of a disadvantage, but something I don't really worry about. The reason I have a camper van, the reason I go on these camper van trips is because I do want to slow down. I like to have some comforts from home, but it's not about rushing around. It's about slowing down, appreciating stuff for a second. There's no point trying to compare it to like a house kettle or anything, because they use a ridiculous amount of energy, like 2,000 or 3,000 watts of power, which it's just unrealistic to try and compare it to something at home. And as I said before, it's best to come out and use your camper van as a time to slow down, relax, and everything like that. Lastly, noise. The cooker itself uses a fan to distribute the heat around the van when it's in its sort of, well, I guess to cool the system, but also to distribute the hot air through the system itself, so it becomes a heater when it's in its like lid down setting. I would say it's quite noisy. The best way to describe it is if you're sleeping and it's on, it's like having a desk fan near to you, and there's an occasional click from the diesel pump as it's pumping the diesel into the system, obviously. So I must admit that the cooker is in very close vicinity to where I sleep, so that obviously does have sort of a factor in that sort of noise issue. So I don't know, like I guess in a van of this size you are going to have to either put up with that, but really after turning it on one night and leaving it for a second, you sort of do normalise to it, and it isn't really that much of a bother. But those are the disadvantages. I wouldn't say most of them are major, but you know, I guess every system does have its advantages and its disadvantages. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a time test, see how long it takes to get a kettle up to boil, and this should sort of give you a scope of how long sort of stuff takes. I'm going to put the heat setting at 6. I'm going to give it its maximum output. We're going to see what this does at full whack and see how we can get going. Just so you guys know, so you can have a bit of a comparison, it's actually 15 degrees right now, which is very warm for the time it is in the year. We're in the start of November, and I'm quite surprised it is this hot in the van. But maybe that's the insulation. So maybe my insulation setup's doing very well, which is good news. So let's get going. Right, so let's start the clock as I start the button. Here we go. There you go guys, 16 minutes till we had some boiling water in our pot. Now I'm going to let people make their own decisions on whether that was a long time or not. I personally would say that, yeah, I mean it is 16 minutes, but 2 minutes 45 of that was it sort of starting up before the flame was ignited. So really from point of ignition to boiling water was more like 13 minutes to boil our kettle. Also, as I mentioned before, I don't think everything's about doing everything super quick and fast and all this sort of stuff. Personally, it doesn't really bother me that it took 16 minutes. I really enjoy sort of slowing down when I'm in my camper van, and that doesn't really, you know, that's not really an issue for me. And also in the time that we've been here, the van temperature is now up to 17 degrees. I wouldn't say it's far off changing to 18. So that's a very comfortable temperature inside a van, and I'm actually going to turn it off right now because I'm getting quite hot. So what's my overview of the system? I really like the WALLAS. I think it's definitely, a lot of it is down to personal preference. It is expensive. It was quite easy to install though. And I think it's quite compact personally. There's that aspect of safety around it, with the fact that it's got like the internal combustion chamber, and then all the sort of bad gases and fumes and everything get let out by the exhaust head, which is very cool. I only also have to worry about 2 things, which is diesel and electricity. And it is a very efficient system, so really not that much at all. It removes the need for gas in my van completely, which is very cool. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to choose to have one, it's down to personal preference. Do you like the sound of the system? I think a lot of you have mixed feelings. Some of you will definitely like the idea of it. Some of you will prefer the propane option, like some of you guys might not even have either of those options. But that's what's great. I love the individuality. I love the fact that everyone will have a different idea of what they want out of their cooking system. I do just like the fact that it is one of those things where it is both your heating and your cooking. So if you bought like the hob and everything, when I bought the hob for the Transit Custom, it cost me 250 quid. Then I needed the gas tanks and all sort of stuff. I think like after everything with the cooking side, that was about nearly 300 quid after it was fitted. And then if I wanted a sort of heater, I might be looking at an easebatcher, and you're probably in the range of 600 to £1,000. So overall, that way it is cheaper still, but it's not one compact system. So I think, you know, you are paying a bit of a premium, and I think if they brought the price down, it'd definitely be a very competitive product. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts, so please leave a comment below and like the video if it helped out at all. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, as it really does help out. Recently, my channel's been doing really well, and I'm so thankful to all you guys. You guys are so positive. I do get some really random comments from some of you, which I laugh at a lot. But I think that's just about it from me. What I'm going to show you in the next couple of videos, the next video to come out will hopefully be something to do with condensation. I'll also be bringing out a video to try and show you guys all the things that you've missed about my van. Things I haven't shown so far because I was getting the van ready for the Corcovado tour. And I'll run through all of those things, like the swivel seats actually swiveling this time, and the fridge, and some other things. So I will catch you guys next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon. you.